One of my girlfriends decided that she was going to lead and take control of that dance, and the man was like, I'm done. Like, he dropped her, walked away, and was like, no, this is it. He didn't mess with her for the rest of the trip.
Our men don't feel comfortable with confiding in us, and they don't feel comfortable in confiding with the other men in their lives.
Because you offended his role as a masculine man. He's very masculine. He's like, I'm here to protect you. I'm here to take care of you.
On your podcast, what topics come up most about men from your female listeners, and what do they wish men knew?
Everything. I'm sorry, everything.
Yo, what's good, family? It's your boy Hugh, and you're now locked into another episode of the Mental Cypher Podcast, where we break down the unspoken battles men fight and start rebuilding from the inside out. Now, if you've been following us, you know this space was built to address men's mental health, the grief, the heartbreak, the pressure, and the silence we've been carrying for generations. But here's the truth. We can't have these conversations about men without including the women who love us, raise us, hurt us, and heal with us. Today's episode is special. I invite 3 powerful women to step into the space and give us their honest perspective on how love, relationships, heartbreak, fatherhood, and emotional silence affect them, and how it all ties back to men's mental health. A therapist who works directly with men's mental health and emotional trauma. A numerologist and author who wrote a book about her ups and downs in love, healing from toxic patterns, and finding her own peace. And a podcast co-host who is a financial advisor, who's been having raw conversations with her community about love, loyalty, and the real challenges we face in modern relationships. Today, we're going to talk about the weight women carry on loving men who won't open up to the accountability women have in this healing process as well, and what both sides need to start doing differently if we're going to ever build healthy love and strong families again. Fellas, listen up. Ladies, thank you for pulling up. This one's for everybody. Welcome to the Mental Cypher Podcast. Let's get it. How y'all feeling?
Great.
All right.
Amazing.
All right. So, ladies, starting with you, can you please introduce yourself for the people?
Yes.
And what you do.
My name is Tamika Harrison Garcia. I am a mental health professional coming out of education for 20 plus years, but understanding the importance of mental health in our community and representation, it was a natural transition for me.
Hello, everyone. I am Jackie Levine. I go by Jazz Aphrodite. I am now a practicing healer, empress of numerology, cardology, astrology, all of the metaphysical sciences. I am also a published author of my memoir, Knocking from the Inside, and 2 numerology books. As well, I am a professional jazz singer.
Hello, everyone. Good. You know, as the Jamaicans could say, good morning. You say that all times of the day, right? Good morning. Good morning, everybody. My name is Tisha S. Hart. I am a financial advisor, wealth coach, member of the Empress High Council podcast. And I also work in the health insurance space, being able to provide access to health care in the New York City metropolitan area.
Awesome, ladies. Thank you for having the time and the space and the energy to come to this amazing platform, which I've actually shared with 2 of the hosts from the Empress High Council. We've had some times on there, laughs, cries, healthy information, and I'm so elated to have y'all come to South Florida, all the way from NYC.
Pleasure to be here.
To come rock out with me, your boy Hugh Hayes, in the Mental Cypher Podcast. So let's get it. Universal question for all the ladies. What made you say yes to being on a men's mental health podcast, and why do you think these conversations need female voices as well?
Well, it's timely. It's timely because as a healer, I often bring women together so that we can have conversation and heal together. And I make myself the focal point, so I'll speak about everything that's happening in my life and give other women the space and the floor to express themselves. That is absent in male culture. And you can see I'm rocking a Caesar, so I spend a lot of time in barbershops with men. And I hear the conversations that you all have. And while you do speak about relationships, there's a vulnerability that's missing. And oftentimes I'd ask my male counterparts, like, why don't you all have these deep conversations? And the responses are that you don't want to expose that part of yourselves because other men hold it against you. And so I think what's missing is that men need safe healing spaces where they can come together and have the conversations that women do, despite the feeling of being betrayed. Because people are going to talk about you regardless, right? And if my whole thing is, if you're not doing anything that's talk worthy, then that's a problem for you. If people are talking about you behind your back, that's a great thing, because there's something about you that either is triggering something in them that needs to be healed. It's something that they may be jealous of, it may be something that they admire. But either way, the conversation is being had. And so I think that it's definitely time for men to address this. So I applaud you for having this space and bringing us here to discuss the female, the divine feminine perspective.
It's very important. You say that, divine feminine. That's pretty much what men desire from women, is femininity, which is your natural makeup. You know, who you are, your inside. We respond to soft. We don't respond too well to rough. And I'm speaking for the guys who are in balance and in knowledge of their own masculinity. I'm not talking about men who are not sure who they are. If you're a man and you know who you are and you are comfortable with that, then you should want a feminine. That's the balance. That is the divine order and balance. I'm not going to say much. Continue.
Well, one of the reasons that I just think that this is a great platform and a great space, because as Jazz said, this is timely. Okay, and it's necessary. But in speaking to, a lot of your friends and your girlfriends, you realize that one of my girlfriends said to me the other day, she said, I'm looked at as the enemy no matter what relationship I've been in, but still the male leans on me for support. Right? So then there's two things. It's what's wrong with you or what's wrong with them. Right? And so we can't continue to go back and forth, and there's no space for healing for anyone. But us as women, we create and find our space to heal. So now we have to address and identify, what does mental illness look like in the Black male community, so that you can clearly identify, maybe there is something wrong with me. Maybe I do need to get a little bit of help. Right. Maybe I do need to seek some counseling. And then we need to dispel all those myths of counseling as well.
Right.
Agreed.
Right.
Counseling helps. It does not hurt. It gives us a new perspective to be able to deal with our issues, number one, as well as, be able to shift the paradigm to be able to move better in certain spaces.
Right. No longer looked at as taboo. We're trying to change minds out here, because a lot of people think it's taboo in the Black culture to go see a therapist. It's actually, you're actually helping yourself. You're being proactive.
Absolutely.
Go ahead. What's your response?
I think that the dialogue is long overdue, but we are seeing it begin to take place in healthy spaces. So I also want to thank you for providing this platform so that the conversation can start, because it doesn't end here, right? This is a place for us to talk about it openly in a healthy fashion, and allow our brothers to understand that we want to work together as a partner, in tandem. We are not at war with you. We're not trying to be at war with you. We want to build community. And in building community, it is so important for us to have the conversation about our own challenges, our triggers, our mental health. it is difficult for us as Black people to sometimes have this conversation. We're in denial. We don't want to admit where we need help, but it is okay to ask for help. If we don't ask for help, we are doing our community a disservice. So.
Agreed.
Awesome. I have a question. Okay, this is towards Tamika. If you're in your practice, how do you see men's emotional struggles affecting their relationships with women?
The word is vulnerability. And I think where I see it being challenging is the notion that I or the man has to be strong. They always have to be strong. They have no soft place to rest. And that is an assumption because they have not taken the opportunity to communicate that with their partner. And because there is no healthy communication, the assumptions are that I can't lay and be soft with her, but you haven't tried, right? I think that is one of the biggest things that I've seen be challenging for some men. And then I think there is this piece of sometimes I want more. Now, this might be a little controversial, right? Because we talk about the nature of a man. And we've had conversations where men say, well, people say, right? The nature of a man is that he should be able to, it is not his nature to be monogamous. And that is challenging for a woman, right? And so if he is in a relationship and he's happy in that relationship, the question then begs, well, why do you feel the need to seek more? And that in a relationship is where you will find that you will butt heads with your woman. And it's difficult to have healthy conversation around that, I think, for a lot of women. And men don't often understand, or they don't know how to find the words to communicate that with their partner in a healthy way.
Well said. That's a whole nother episode. Right? Engineers like, yup. That's a whole nother episode. What do you wish more men understood about how their silence or emotional detachment affects women in relationships? Because a lot of ladies deal with a man, but when a man shuts down, it's very common.
So what women want to let men understand about their silence is that silence is golden. Silence is key. We all need a moment of silence in relationships. I find that the constant bombardment of conversation, of just hearing the distractions, that gets to all of us. But there comes a time when we need to come together to have honest conversations. And so I don't have a problem with the silence. Speaking to what Mika was saying, if we have the conversation that's transparent and we can have touch points where we can come together and just say what's truly on our hearts, what's truly on our spirits. I find that men of color grapple with a lot of spiritual afflictions. And they misconstrue or conflate spiritual afflictions with emotional afflictions. And so, as Mika was saying, the intermingling of people having multiple relationships, a lot of men don't do that spiritual check to make sure that the women that they're commingling with are actually a spiritual fit. And so there are spirits on people, there are energies on people. They come into the home, they don't necessarily wash themselves with salt and vinegar to clean the body, to get rid of all that excess spiritual debris. And so not only are you bringing in all of your stress, your anguish, the things that you can't communicate in the silence, you're bringing in demons, for lack of a better word. And so now, as a divine feminine, I have to combat all of that. Right. I got to clean through. I have to see through all of that and then still deal with you and try to get to the core of what it is that you're not expressing to me. And then try to stay whole and grounded for us both. Because at that point, you can't support me the way that I need you because you're not even supporting yourself. You're not even giving me the platform to be honest with me about what it is that you're feeling and going through.
Right.
And then you can't even process the fact that you have these spiritual demons on you from wherever they may have come from, because we're
Right.
interacting with the environments all over the place. So it doesn't even have to be another woman. It could just be on the train, in your car, talking to someone. They just throw a bad spirit on you. And so all of these things, I don't think that men of color are taking enough time to really get spiritually grounded and have a safe and constant spiritual practice. And so
Consistency,
all of that
right.
affects the
Yeah.
body and the mind.
I agree that ties in with your spiritual beliefs, your prayer, consistency, your self-checking, being self-aware as you pray. If you believe in a higher power,
I also think that it lends to a man's leadership, right? When you can, many of our men are meant to be leaders, but if you do not connect to your spiritual side, it is difficult to lead in a holistic way. Yeah. Yeah.
I think that I think we are a little bit putting the cart before the horse, because your communication style starts from childhood.
okay,
And if you don't have it, then where do you develop it? Who do you learn it from as you get older? What organizations did you see a need to be able to develop it? Were you in the environment to develop it? What organizations were you a part of to be able to get there and then learn about the spirituality and the spiritual aspect of it? So if you don't have it as a child and you didn't have it as growing up, you wind up moving through life, becoming an adult, right? And can't even communicate. And you don't even, and so now you're quiet and you're removed, and now you have this silence because you have not learned the tools to process. So now we have grown men who are married with children, allegedly and supposedly leaders of families, and they cannot process. So they fall into this cocoon, and now, like Jackie said, the silence is golden, but the golden silence is not what's going on right here. The golden silence is what you did not develop.
interesting perspective. It's behavioral, what you're taught.
So, I agree. I think, though, that as we grow into adulthood, we have experiences, we make different connections, we reinvent ourselves. As you grow, what you believed as a teenager, you may not believe in your 20s and your 30s and so forth and so on. And so how do we hold ourselves accountable, or each other accountable, for not using as an excuse, well, I didn't learn that when I was a kid, right? We have the saying, when you know better, you do better. And so if you're telling me, if I can sit down and have a conversation with you, and you say to me, well, I was exposed to my uncles womanizing when I was a child, but in my own experiences as an adult, I see how that affects the woman, and I understand that that's not okay, then why do you keep doing it?
See, because like you said, in my experience as an adult, I see how it affects the woman and understands it. Some people don't get to that level of sight.
But they
vision.
continue to
And they continue-
engage in the behavior.
Yeah, because they don't get to the level. They don't get to the level of sight where they see how it affects the woman, affects the household, how it affects the family. They don't see it.
So that's that spiritual
Nope.
piece.
That's the spiritual piece. And that's also, if this is what you've been exposed to and this is what you see, this is what you're going to continue to do because you never saw the effects. You really don't understand. You can't even process it.
It's learned behavior.
But I think you can process it. I still kind of lean to what Mika's saying in terms of the accountability. You can process it. The problem is many times in relationships, people are not honest. Honesty
And
is
there we
lacking. period. And I don't mean honest like, did you cheat on me last night? Honest like, tell me exactly who you are. Tell me exactly what you're thinking in this moment.
Yeah,
And trust that I'm not going to judge you. And that is a hard thing for a man to do. I have to say that as a woman, because as a woman, sometimes we say, just tell me. I'm here.
Right.
And I see a lot of my girlfriends, when the men tell them, they respond in such a combative and abusive way. It's like, we can't say we want something on one hand and on the other hand, tear the man down. But that's what's missing. We need to be completely honest. Listen, when you leave, I'm going to sleep with 5 different women, or I'm going to go and have a menage a trois with this other man. I'm going to go.
Right.
Who are you? Because that's what's missing. Too many representatives are out in the street lurking because people don't want you to see who they truly are. Because if you really see who I am, would you love me the same way?
People are afraid of that. I mean, both parties are guilty of that.
So they lying.
Women and men. Everybody's experience is their experience.
Yeah.
So when you experience somebody who has not been honest who they are, I think it restructures your whole outlook of the opposite sex.
It does.
Especially if you experience the same thing more than once. And like you said, who are you? So if you're experiencing who are you, you start to believe in your own experience that this particular person or sex is fraudulent. Who wants to walk around knowing that everybody's fraudulent? So there's a movie, I'm gonna pivot a little bit, it's called it's with Roddy Piper back in the day. I forgot the name of the film. I'll probably put it in the comments or later on when I remember it. He basically found some glasses in a trash can. It was a whole bunch of glasses. And he's like, whoa, what are these shades doing in here? He put the shade on and he started walking down the street. And he started looking at everybody. And within normal society, every now and then you'll see an alien. And the aliens didn't look cute. They look like skeletons. I don't know if you've ever seen this film. Really good film. It's called They Live. That's the name of the film. When you go through things like what you just said, and you put them glasses on, you begin to see people
For who they truly are.
for who they are. But if you don't have those glasses, everybody looks the same, and you're going to take it for face value, what they say. And I have to agree with you. If people just let people know who they are in the beginning, now you give that person an opportunity to decide if they want to be with you.
True.
And that is empowering for both sexes. That's important. So, yeah, I'm going to move on to another question for all the ladies. Have you ever seen a good man break under the pressure of expectations? What happened and what did you learn from it? First of all, have you ever seen a
good man? That's what I was going to ask. Have any of us ever seen a good man? That's what I want to ask.
That's so some say in our community that a good man is an anomaly, right? That's what the ladies believe, correct? Jackie?
A good man is not an anomaly.
Okay.
I think a good man exists in many different forms, right? And good is objective, or subjective rather. It depends on what you define to be good. I've seen good men break, yes, to answer your question.
Okay.
And breaking looks different, but like you said earlier, silence, not speaking, depression for days, laying in the bed, not getting out of the bed, communicating, well, I don't want to hang out tonight, no, I don't want to go to dinner, no, I don't want to do this, I'm just coming home from work and I'm going to sleep and watch the same movies every night and just stay in the bed. I've seen that happen. And what it does, it deteriorates the relationship because, again, there's no conversation, there's no communication, I can't reach you. Even though we are coming together and we're discussing a plan and we're going to say we're going to move forward with this plan, the steps, I find a lot of black men, and this is the problem that I have, and I'm not abandoning y'all, but taking the steps takes a long time, and if we're not there holding your hand, it's like things don't get done. And what Tisha was saying earlier in terms of we can't be the ones that you hate, but the ones to fix everything at the same time.
Right.
And so it's difficult because you want the man to exercise that leadership, to say, well, yes, I'm going to take the helm. I understand I'm in a bad space now, but I'm going to rise up and I'm going to start taking these steps one day at a time toward this goal that we set. But then they revert. And now we have to clean up the mess and be your cheerleader. Like, come on, we could do this. We could move forward. It takes a lot because we don't have that. We don't have that. We have our girlfriends. And sometimes it's coming from a great place from our girlfriends, and sometimes it's not. And we have to deal with that too, the betrayal of girlfriends.
Right.
And so we have a lot to carry. Like, we want to be the rock and the support for men, but men have to be the rock and the support for themselves. And that's why I say it really takes a village of men to come together and support men. Because I can't tell you what it is to take that step. And a man can come and communicate that and say, yo, bro, when I was going through this, I did X, Y, and Z, and I spoke to this person, or I took this supplement, or I did this thing, I spoke to this blah, 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 I did whatever it is, and they're like, I get it.
Right.
Because it's coming from your peer.
Absolutely. It's a different language. It's a different tone.
Exactly.
You got different decibels. All these things are intricate. People don't realize, the bass of a man's voice can resonate to him sometimes more so than a feminine voice.
Yeah.
And then sometimes a feminine voice can actually inspire a man to do great things.
Yeah. I mean, I've recently had an experience where in my own relationship, we needed to go get counseling. And I set up the counseling, and I was told by, my black king that, listen, no white person could tell me how to be a black man. Right. So then now we have to look for another level of counseling, where, there is an experience and there's a mutual found respect, and this experience aligns with our community. So now I know why, some black men won't go to counseling, because most of the therapists out there, they cannot resonate with them because they're not from the same ethnic background.
Right.
So now we have to touch on that as well. But then we also have to look at, are the steps going to still be the same? Because it's really about the steps.
Yeah,
it's not about the experience and what resonates. It's about finding coping mechanisms and the steps to be able to cope.
Yeah,
I agree. That's really good outlook on it.
Yeah, I think just to echo on what both of you have shared, it is difficult, that communication piece. So I'm thinking about some of the men that I've seen break as friends, right? Not intimate relationships, but, as a brother or a cousin. And man, it is difficult to stand by and watch when you want to help and you don't know how to help. And they're processing, and you're trying to maybe give advice in a very gentle type of way, and either they lash out, don't tell me about myself, I don't need any advice, I'm good, right? Or they don't say anything, and as you shared, they retreat. And it's difficult to watch. Especially if it's someone who you deeply care about, you really love, and you just want to see them do well, and that they are a good person. That is difficult to watch. Yeah.
It's difficult, and it's also, we get resentful.
Yes.
We get resentful because we don't have that luxury.
Yeah.
As a black woman, I don't have that luxury to stay in the bed and just retreat and not do anything. Because I have to take care of a village. I have to show up for myself. I have to show up for my sisters. I have to show up for you. I have to show up for my children. I have to show up for my nephews and my nieces. I have to show up for my parents. I got to show up.
Absolutely.
And we give y'all a lot of leeway. And I don't think we get enough thanks to say, well, you know what, thank you. When I was going through that, you held me down. We don't get that.
You get resentment.
We get resentment. We get cheated on. Because now that you're in this space, you find something else or someone else to make you feel like the man that you think I'm not making you feel like, because I'm dealing with you day to day in the trenches and I'm seeing the shit.
Right. You're right there. You're right there next to him.
And so this other woman is making you feel like a king because she doesn't have to clean all of that up. So you're giving her your best and then coming to me again, giving me the dregs at the bottom of the coffee cup.
As they say in Trinidad, I get it bottom of the pot of the pelao. I get it
But
bottom.
sometimes that's really sweetest part. That is really sweetest part.
You know what I'm saying?
But as you said that, it reminded me of an interview. I forget who it was. The woman stated, she said, you know, I want you to lie to me. You lie to everybody else.
Yeah.
If I love you, I can't lie to you.
Of course you can lie to me. And you will. If you love me and you're going off with Maddie someplace, you're lying to me. Because what the hell do I care about the truth? I care if you're there. What Billie Holiday say, hush now, don't explain.
All right, I accept that.
Of course.
All
Of
right,
course
I
you lie to me.
accept
Because
that.
I don't even want to care. What does the truth matter? And why are you going to be truthful with me when you lie to everybody else? You lied when you smiled at that cracker down the job, right? Lie to me, smile. Treat me the same way you would treat him.
I can't treat
You
you the way I
must.
treat him.
You must. Because I've caught the frowns and the anger. He's happy with you. Of course he doesn't know you're unhappy. You grin at him all day long. You come home and I catch hell because I love you. I get least of you. I get the very minimum. And I'm saying, you know, fake it with me. Is that too much of the black woman to ask of the black man?
Yeah.
You go to work, you lie to your boss, you give them that part of you. If you're going to give them your best and come home and lie to me, give me your best too. Mm-hmm. That's real though.
I
thought
real.
about.
Some
I
ladies
remember that.
rather rock with that.
Yeah.
Because it's so much. Why tell me the truth? Lie to everybody else.
It's a lot
You
of
might as
weight.
well lie to me too, so I can feel all right. And some men do it, and then they do it with the wrong lady, and it's like, you supposed to tell me the truth. And next thing you get a pot across your head. So
So there's
same
this.
pillow pot. You know what I'm saying? What up? You know what I mean?
Well, you know, I'm Southern. It's the grits pot.
It's a great
Word.
grits.
Word. Shout out to Al Green. You know what I mean? If y'all know, y'all know.
Pot.
We
It's
know.
the grits
You know what I'm
pot.
saying? You get that grits. You know what I mean? Hot grits.
The hot grits pot. Always keep them cooking on the stove, you know, just in case. But
good.
you know, there's a new show coming out. I'm not here to promote that show, but I just want to say there's a statement that came out, and it's, I don't know, one of these older, well-respected black actresses says, you know, the quote that she used has, when has a black woman gotten a break and have not had to show up to fix everything? Right? We've been showing up to fix everything forever. And that goes to mention, you know, where Jackie's like, don't forget, we don't have the luxury of not showing up. We have, you know, I tell people right now, my little red wagon that I carried the village in now, there's no wheels on it anymore. I done dragged it on the concrete. It has rust stains in it. It's eating out at the back. Get in at your own, you know, leisure right now. You may get left or get, you know, mauled. Because when do we get a chance to rest and rebuild?
Right.
And that's where the community is supposed to come into play.
We have it.
Right.
We have it.
Right. We have it. But it's not, I don't think as a whole, it's where it should be. Right. And I don't want to, that word should is, to me, is a dangerous word. Right. But we have lost our community. We have pockets of it, but we have lost our community. We have lost the ability to lean on one another. We have lost the ability to connect with one another. Somewhere along the line, I think so many of our men have lost the ability to confide, to genuinely confide in one another. So imagine in our household, in our intimate space, our men don't feel comfortable with confiding in us, and they don't feel comfortable in confiding with the other men in their lives. Where do they go? What do they do with all of that pent up energy, those ruminating thoughts, those, you know, the pressure, feeling the weight of the world on their shoulders, but they're not releasing any of it to anyone? Where does that go? And how does that then show up in the household? How does that show up for him as a husband, as a boyfriend, as a father, as an uncle, as a leader? How does that show up for him? And I think that it begins to eat at him from the inside out. and we begin to see the breakdown, and then that's where we have to clean up the mess, and he is just sitting in the corner rotting, and there's nothing that we can do about it.
Quiet. And I want to also mention something that we coined in the podcast a long time ago, because just to bring things full circle, we are talking about the development of, of our men from childhood to how they show up as leaders in our families. We talked about their need and the spaces that they need to be in so that, no one is pointing the finger, that they can have these conversations with their peers, and their peers at least, remove the bravado. You understand what I'm saying? Because this is it's a what they call a pissing contest, right? It's a pissing contest. So they don't want to reveal their feminine to their peers because then they look weak, right? And then we also need to bring it full circle to the spirituality part, where we have to look at. I think everyone needs a numerologist. Everyone needs a therapist, because now we have people walking around, and we coined this on the podcast, Jackie, spiritually deficient. Because they don't even know how to clean the mess up.
That's real. That's real. I think that's real for both men and women.
Yeah, in this moment, I'm sitting there, processing it. It's just a lot of food. This is a lot of soul food. So you see, I'm doing dishes right now. I'm over here trying to wash them before they come in there, metaphor. But this is very healthy. You wrote about your ups and downs in love and how your experience shaped your view of what healthy masculinity should look like. I remember a part in your book where you said you went to Cuba and you were learning salsa. And the way the culture is set up in salsa, the man leads. And going over your book, you were mentioning, I'm not quoting verbatim, but for the first time you sensed more leadership in just a stranger's dance because he took the leadership. That's important. So I'm asking you, how did your experience shape your view of what healthy masculinity should look like?
I love that question. Yeah, so in Cuba, we learn to dance salsa, and as you mentioned, the men lead and we follow, and so there is a rhythm to it, there's a timing, and there's a way that he caresses and touches, and he's guiding and instructing you while you're dancing. So if he finds that you're stepping too far back, he'll say, no, take smaller steps. He'll pull you in a certain way. So when you're dancing, there is a vulnerability on the dance floor because you're truly yourself. You're letting go of your inhibitions. And so also on the dance floor, you can love is formed on the dance floor. Like, there's a song by Brownstone, sometimes dancing can make you fall in love, and it's true. The way your body moves before your eyes, right? So just that sway. And so feeling safe in a man's arm. I think black women, we just want to feel safe. And oftentimes we don't feel safe with the men that we're with. We may feel safe if we're walking down the street and he can defend us, but I don't necessarily feel safe for you to manage the finances, manage the household, tell me what to do. In Cuba, there's this surety, like, okay, I'm going to go out, I'm going to work. Everybody works. They have their assigned professions. They come home in the evening. We sit down. Everybody's out on what we call in Trinidad the gallery, the front porch. There is that communal sense. And so we build together. Everybody goes out and dances at night. And so we're dancing. We understand the rhythm, the timing. And so in the book, I had also mentioned one of my girlfriends decided that she was going to lead and take control of that dance. And the man was like, I'm done. Like, he dropped her, walked away, and was like, no, this is it. He didn't mess with her for the rest of the trip because you offended his role as a masculine man. He's very masculine. He's like, I'm here to protect you. I'm here to take care of you. Every night they went out with us, they were our guides. And so we felt protected. Right. Oftentimes, in American society, black women, we're left to our own devices. My ex and I, who I was just in a relationship, would go bike riding all the time. And I would like him to lead because I'm like, depending on how you're maneuvering and through traffic, I can follow you and make sure that, okay, if you're doing this. But he would just make these miscalculated steps. And I'm like, I can't do this with you because you're not making sense. Like, you're not even communicating. You're not giving me a signal. And he's like, well, I'm trying to talk. You're not trying to do nothing. Like, you're not giving me anything. Like, and because he's frustrated, because you said he can't express himself, he may not have the language to express himself in just basic conversation. He now gets offended because he finds that I'm attacking his character, but I'm not. I just need to know what it is that you're doing so I can follow you. I have no problem walking behind, riding behind a man, but I need to feel safe that you know how to guide and steer the ship. And if you don't, then yes, my masculinity starts to come out. And now I am taking on that role for us. And then you are reverting into that son role. I now become your mother. And now our dynamic shifts. And I'm no longer the sexy mama that you want because I'm your mother sometimes. I'm your girl sometimes. I'm your sister sometimes. And so it just blurs the line.
Yes.